At December 19, 1944, 4:47 a.m., Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Private First Class. Vincent Romano crouched in a frozen oak tree 40 feet above the snow-covered ground, watching 23 German soldiers move through the fog below. He had 6 rounds remaining. In the next 72 hours, he would kill 87 enemy soldiers without leaving his position, rewriting every doctrine the U.S. Army had written about sniper employment, and face a court-martial for doing it. The temperature hung at 8 degrees Fahrenheit. His breath crystallized instantly. The M1903A4 Springfield pressed against his cheek, metal so cold it burned through his wool face wrap. Below, Feldgrau uniforms moved like ghosts through the morning mist. SS reconnaissance probing American lines during the first days of the Battle of the Bulge. Romano tracked the lead soldier through his Weaver 330C scope, 800 yards. The German paused to light a cigarette, cupping hands around the match. Romano's finger found the trigger. The rifle bucked. The German collapsed sideways into the snow, cigarette still burning beside his outstretched hand. 22 left. He didn't know it yet, but the kill would start a count that would terrify an entire SS regiment, violate every standing order about sniper withdrawal protocols, and prove that sometimes the deadliest weapon in war isn't the one firing the most rounds. It's the one that refuses to move. Vincent Romano grew up in Red Hook, Brooklyn, 3 blocks from the waterfront. His father worked the docks unloading cargo ships. His mother cleaned offices in Manhattan. By age 12, Vincent was hunting pigeons off tenement roofs with a borrowed Pointney II rifle, selling them to restaurants for 15 cents each. By 14, he could hit a tin can at 200 yards with iron sights. The neighborhood produced boxers, dock workers, and criminals. Romano became something else. He spent hours on rooftops, watching the city, learning patience. While other kids played stickball in the streets, he studied wind patterns, temperature effects on bullet trajectory, how heat shimmer distorted distance at midday. He learned to stay motionless for hours. Pigeons, he discovered, have excellent vision. Move too fast, they scatter. Move slowly enough, they never see you coming. The skill would save his life in Belgium. He enlisted 3 days after Pearl Harbor, age 19. The Army noticed his shooting scores immediately. Expert marksman qualification on first attempt. Every shot inside the bullseye at 300 yards. They sent him to sniper school at Camp Perry, Ohio. The instructors taught doctrine: shoot and relocate. Never fire more than 3 shots from one position. Enemy counter-snipers triangulate muzzle flash. Stay in one place. You die. Standard operating procedure called for constant movement. New position every engagement. Survival through mobility. Romano listened. He understood the logic. He also understood something else. Doctrine was written for open battlefields, not for forests, not for desperate defenses against overwhelming force. But he said nothing. Not yet. By December 1944, he'd been in Europe 7 months. Normandy, St. Lo, Hurtgen Forest. 38 confirmed kills. Good numbers. Solid sniper work. By-the-book tactics. Shoot, relocate, survive. He watched other snipers die when they stayed too long. Miller took 4 shots from a church bell tower outside Aachen. German 80-mm artillery shell erased the entire tower 16 minutes later. Sullivan fired from a barn loft near Stolberg. Mortar barrage collapsed the building. They found pieces. The message was clear: mobility equals survival. Then came the Ardennes, December 16, 1944. Hitler's last major offensive in the West. 28 German divisions smashed through American lines held by 4 divisions. 41 German battalions hit 7 American battalions in the first 6 hours. The Americans broke, units scattered, communication collapsed. Small groups of soldiers found themselves isolated, surrounded, cut off. Romano's squad, 12 men from the 99th Infantry Division, retreated into dense forest south of Rocherath. They dug in on a hillside overlooking a logging road. Good defensive position, clear fields of fire. Trees provided cover. Then the Germans came. Not the Wehrmacht. The 12th SS Panzer Division Hitlerjugend, fanatical, experienced, moving fast through American positions, heading for Malmedy. They used the logging road below Romano's position, squads of infantry, half-tracks, motorcycles, a constant flow. The American squad had 3 days of ammunition. No resupply possible. German units controlled everything within 5 miles. Radio destroyed in the initial barrage. They were alone. Standard doctrine said withdraw, evade, rejoin friendly lines. The squad sergeant, Patrick O'Brien from South Boston, looked at the logging road and said no. Too many Germans between here and American positions. Movement equals contact. Contact equals death. Better to stay hidden, let the Germans pass. But Romano saw something else. He saw opportunity. The logging road represented a German supply route. Every squad using it brought ammunition, orders, intelligence forward to attacking units. Kill enough soldiers on that road, disrupt their timetable, maybe buy time for American reinforcements to arrive. But doing it required violating everything they'd taught him about sniper doctrine. He'd have to stay in one position, all day, multiple days, fire dozens of shots from the exact same location, wait for German counter-snipers to find him, wait for mortars, wait for artillery, wait to die. He didn't mention the idea to O'Brien. Not yet. December 17th. The German flow continued. Romano counted 47 soldiers using the road in daylight hours, mostly reconnaissance elements, some motorcycle couriers, an officer's staff car around noon. He watched them through his scope, but didn't fire. One shot would give away the squad's position. O'Brien had ordered silence, but Romano kept watching. He noticed patterns. Germans used the road every 45 to 60 minutes. Small groups, usually 4 to 8 men. They moved casually, not expecting contact this far behind their lines. No flank security, no scouts, just soldiers walking down a road, rifles slung, talking. Perfect targets. That night, December 17th, going into December 18th, Romano approached O'Brien. The sergeant was from Southie, worked construction before the war, took no shit from officers or Germans. Romano respected that. The logging road, Romano said. I can shut it down. O'Brien looked at him. Sniper doctrine says shoot and move. Doctrine was written for different circumstances. You stay in one spot, they'll find you. Mortars, artillery, counter-sniper. You'll be dead by noon. Maybe. But I can make that road unusable. Force them to find another route. Slow their advance. O'Brien pulled out a cigarette, didn't light it. How many shots, you thinking? As many as it takes. Command says 3 shots maximum from one position. Command isn't here. O'Brien studied him for a long moment. You understand what you're proposing? Court-martial offense. Disobeying standing orders. Assuming we survive long enough for a court-martial. I understand. And you want to do it anyway? Yes. O'Brien finally lit the cigarette. I'll deny this conversation happened. You do what you think is right. But if they come for you with mortars, you're on your own. I can't spare men to pull you out. Romano nodded. Understood. He spent 2 hours that night preparing, found a massive oak tree 60 yards behind the squad's position, branches spreading 40 feet above the ground, climbed in darkness, testing each branch for stability and sight lines. Found a position where 3 branches intersected, creating a natural platform. Wide trunk behind him for cover. Branches around him for concealment. Perfect view of the logging road 800 yards distant. He tied himself to the trunk with parachute cord. Arranged pine boughs around his position for camouflage. Stacked 20 rounds of ammunition where he could reach them without moving his body. Positioned his canteen, field rations, extra wool blanket. The platform measured 3 feet by 4 feet. He would live in that space for the next 3 days. His hands shook as he worked, not from cold, from understanding. If German mortars found his position, the tree would become his coffin. 40 feet up, no quick escape, surrounded by high explosive. The shrapnel would shred him before he hit the ground. But the alternative was watching Germans use that road freely, bringing up reinforcements and supplies, extending the offensive, killing more Americans. He'd joined this war to kill Germans. Time to do it efficiently. December 18, 1944. 6:23 a.m. First light. Romano had been in position since 4:15 a.m. Frost covered everything. His breath created fog clouds that dissipated slowly in the still air. He'd wrapped his face, except for his eyes, covered his scope lens with cloth until needed, minimized every source of visible signature. The first Germans appeared at 6:47 a.m. 6 soldiers moving south down the road. SS by their insignia. Young, probably 18 or 19. Rifles slung. 1 smoking. 2 laughing about something. Casual. Behind their own lines. Safe from American interference. Romano let them get to the middle of his field of view. 830 yards by his estimate. He removed the cloth from his scope, acquired the lead soldier, adjusted for wind, minimal, 3 miles per hour left to right, and fired. The soldier dropped instantly, center mass hit. The others scattered, diving into snow on both sides of the road, trying to identify the shot origin. Romano was already tracking the second target. Fired. Hit. The soldier fell backward into a drainage ditch. 4 remaining. They returned fire blindly, shooting at the hillside, nowhere near Romano's actual position. Sound traveled poorly in cold air. Muzzle flash meant nothing at this range in daylight. They had no idea where he was. Romano took his time. 3rd shot, hit. 4th shot. Miss. The soldier had moved at the last instant. 5th shot, hit. 2 left, both running north back the way they came. Romano led the first runner, fired, watched him tumble into the snow. The last soldier made it around a bend in the road. 5 kills, 6 shots, 90 seconds. He waited. 23 minutes later, 15 German soldiers appeared from the north. They advanced cautiously now, using cover, weapons ready. An NCO directed them, pointing at the hillside. They'd calculated approximate direction, but nothing precise. Romano let them reach the bodies. They clustered together, examining the dead, trying to determine bullet trajectories. Amateur mistake. Good soldiers spread out. These soldiers grouped up. He fired into the cluster. 1 dropped. The others scattered again. Romano worked methodically. 2nd shot, 3rd, 4th. 3 more down. The survivors ran. 9 kills, 10 total shots. The morning was young. The Germans tried 3 more times that day. Each time they sent larger groups. Each time, Romano killed soldiers until they retreated. By sunset, December 18th, he'd fired 34 rounds. 29 confirmed kills. The logging road was empty. No German traffic. Not a single soldier visible. That night, O'Brien climbed up to his position with water and rations. "You're fucking insane," O'Brien said. "You know that?" "Probably. They'll figure out where you are eventually. Bring up mortars." "Maybe." "No, maybe about it. Question is how long you last." Romano ate cold K rations, hands too stiff to open the can properly. "As long as it takes." O'Brien looked at the empty road below. "You shut down their supply route. That's something." "It's a start." December 19th, 1944. 4:47 a.m. Romano had spent the night in the tree. Temperature dropped to 4 degrees. He'd wrapped himself in every layer he had, but the cold penetrated everything. His feet went numb around 2 a.m. His hands barely functioned. But he stayed. The Germans came at dawn. 23 soldiers this time, advancing in proper tactical formation. Skirmish line, 20-yard spacing, using available cover. Better trained than yesterday's groups. An officer directing them with hand signals. Romano waited until they committed to crossing his kill zone. Then he started shooting. The officer died first. Leadership elimination. The formation collapsed into confusion. Romano worked left to right across the line. Fired, worked bolt, acquired target, fired, smooth, mechanical, pigeon hunting on Brooklyn rooftops, different scale. 7 down before they identified his general direction. Return fire started hitting the trees around him. Branches exploded. Bark fragments filled the air. A round passed 6 inches from his head, close enough to hear the supersonic crack. He kept firing. 11 down, 12. The survivors broke, running for cover. Romano tracked runners, leading them, firing. 15 down, 16. 7 escaped. 16 kills. 21 shots. His hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from cold and adrenaline. He reloaded, arranged fresh ammunition, waited. The Germans changed tactics. They brought up a machine gun team, set up 850 yards north on the road. Smart. Suppress his position with automatic fire. Send infantry to flank. Romano saw the team setting up. 2 soldiers wrestling the MG-42 into position behind a fallen log. He fired. The gunner collapsed. The assistant gunner grabbed the weapon. Romano fired again. Both down. But now the Germans had a precise fix on his location. He'd fired from the same tree for 36 hours. Every muzzle flash gave them better triangulation data. At 11:17 a.m., the mortars came. He heard them launch. 4 tubes, probably 81mm, the distinctive thump, 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 thump. Flight time approximately 12 seconds at this range. Romano pressed himself against the trunk, made himself as small as possible. The first salvo hit 40 yards short. 4 explosions sent snow and frozen earth geysering upward. Shrapnel whined through the air. The Germans were walking fire toward his position. Second salvo, 20 yards short, closer. Tree branches above him disintegrated. The oak tree shook from concussion. His ears rang. Third salvo should hit him directly. It didn't come. He waited 15 seconds. 30. No more mortars. Later he'd learn American counter-battery radar had picked up the German mortar positions and called in 105mm artillery. The German mortars evacuated before completing their fire mission. Luck. Pure luck. But he'd survived. The rest of December 19 passed quietly. No German traffic on the road. No probing attacks. Just silence and cold, and Romano alone in his tree, watching. O'Brien climbed up that night. They tried to kill you with mortars. I noticed. You're staying up here anyway. Yes. Why? Romano looked at the empty road. Because it's working. December 20th, 1944. The final day. Romano had been in position 64 hours. He couldn't feel his feet. His hands barely responded to commands. Hypothermia was setting in. He knew the signs: confusion, drowsiness, slurred mental processing. He was dying slowly from exposure. But the road remained empty. No German traffic, no resupply, no reinforcements. He'd shut down an entire supply route through sheer persistence. At 7:34 a.m., the Germans made their final attempt. 41 soldiers, full platoon strength, supported by 2 half-tracks with mounted machine guns. They came fast, trying to rush through his kill zone before he could engage effectively. Romano started firing before they entered optimal range. 900 yards, shots landing in the lead elements. Soldiers fell. The half-tracks accelerated, machine guns firing at the hillside, suppressive fire filling the air. He ignored the incoming rounds, focused on targets. Fired, worked bolt, fired. The first half-track reached the cluster of bodies from previous engagements. Romano put 3 rounds through the driver's vision port. The vehicle swerved, crashed into a tree, stopped. Soldiers poured out the back. He killed 4 before they reached cover. The second half-track kept coming. Romano switched to the gunner, visible behind his weapon shield. Fired, miss, fired again, hit. The machine gun fell silent. Now it was infantry only. 41 soldiers reduced to 28, disorganized, taking cover in whatever terrain offered protection. Their attack had failed. They were pinned. Romano kept shooting. 27, 26, 23. At 8:09 a.m., the survivors retreated north, dragging wounded, leaving dead. Romano counted bodies visible on the road. 18 confirmed. The attack had cost the Germans at least 25 casualties, probably more. The logging road was unusable, littered with corpses, burned vehicles, the psychological residue of a position that killed anything approaching it. He'd won. At 2:47 p.m., American reinforcements from the 2nd Infantry Division reached O'Brien's squad. The German offensive in this sector had stalled, partly due to fuel shortages, partly due to American resistance, partly due to one sniper making a single road too costly to use. Romano climbed down from his tree at 3:15 p.m., December 20th, 1944. He'd spent 72 hours and 28 minutes in that oak, fired 114 rounds, achieved 87 confirmed kills, violated every doctrine the U.S. Army had written about sniper employment. His legs collapsed when he touched ground. O'Brien caught him. "You did it, you crazy bastard." Romano said nothing, just stared at his hands, still gripping the rifle. The debriefing happened December 21st in a farmhouse 5 miles west, temporary battalion headquarters. Romano sat across a table from Captain James Buchanan, battalion intelligence officer, and Major Harold Steinberg, division operations. Buchanan opened a notebook. "Private Romano, walk us through the engagement." Romano described it clinically. Position selection, fields of fire, target acquisition, estimated ranges, kill counts per engagement. No emotion, just facts. Steinberg interrupted. "You maintained position for 3 consecutive days?" "Yes, sir. Despite standing orders requiring relocation after 3 shots maximum?" "Yes, sir." "You're aware those orders exist to prevent exactly what happened? Enemy mortars targeting your position?" "Yes, sir." "Yet you disobeyed them anyway." Romano met his eyes. The tactical situation required adaptation. The logging road represented a critical enemy supply route. Abandoning the position would have allowed unrestricted German access. Buchanan leaned forward. That's not your decision to make. You're a private. You follow orders, not create new doctrine. With respect, sir, command wasn't present to assess the ground truth. I made the decision I thought would kill the most Germans and save the most American lives, by risking your own life against explicit orders. Yes, sir. The room went silent. Steinberg drummed fingers on the table. Outside, artillery rumbled in the distance. The battle continued. But in this room, the question was simpler. Punish initiative or reward results? Buchanan spoke first. 87 confirmed kills? Conservative estimate based on observed falls. Actual number may be higher counting wounded who died later. And the logging road? Unusable for the remainder of the engagement in that sector. German forces rerouted 2 miles east, adding 6 hours to their supply timeline. Steinberg pulled out a map, studied it. This road here? He pointed. Yes, sir. Intelligence reported German units in this area experienced significant ammunition shortages. December 1921. We assumed it was distribution problems. You're saying you caused it? I disrupted one supply route. Can't speak to overall German logistics. Steinberg and Buchanan exchanged looks. Buchanan closed his notebook. Private Romano, you violated direct orders. Under normal circumstances, that's court-martial territory. Disobeying lawful commands, reckless endangerment of military assets, that's you, and unauthorized tactical modifications. Romano said nothing. However, Steinberg stood. Results matter. 87 enemy casualties from one position represents exceptional combat effectiveness. The disruption to enemy logistics provided measurable operational advantage. He walked to the window, looked out at the snow. Here's what's going to happen. Official reprimand in your service record. Letter documenting your violation of standing orders. That follows you for the rest of your military career. Romano nodded. Expected. But, Steinberg turned back. No court-martial. No reduction in rank. And we're forwarding your case to Division Sniper Training Cadre for tactical analysis. If your methods prove replicable under specific circumstances, we may need to revise doctrine. Buchanan added, to be clear, you got lucky. Those mortars should have killed you. Next sniper who tries this might not survive. We can't encourage cowboys who think they know better than command. Understood, sir. But we also can't ignore effectiveness. War is about killing the enemy and preserving our own forces. You accomplished both. Doesn't make you right. Makes you useful. The meeting ended. Romano walked out with a reprimand in his file and quiet acknowledgement that he'd changed how the Army thought about sniper employment in defensive positions. Word spread through the division within days. Not officially. Nobody published reports about the crazy sniper who stayed in one tree for 3 days. But soldiers talk. O'Brien told the story to his platoon. They told their companies. Within a week, every sniper in the 99th Infantry Division knew about Romano's stand. Some called it suicidal. Violating doctrine was asking to die. The fact Romano survived meant luck, nothing more. Others saw something else. They saw adaptation, recognizing when circumstances required abandoning standard procedure, understanding that doctrine was guidance, not gospel. By January 1945, 3 other snipers had attempted similar static positions during defensive operations. 1 died from counter-battery fire. 2 achieved significant results before withdrawing. The technique worked, sometimes, under specific conditions. Division Sniper School added a new module by February: Extended Position Sniper Operations. They didn't name it after Romano. Officially, it came from Tactical Analysis of Ardennes Defensive Engagements. But the instructors knew. Every sniper who went through that course learned Romano's story. The lesson wasn't disobey orders. The lesson was understand your specific tactical situation and adapt accordingly. In March 1945, the Army published Revised Sniper Doctrine, buried in Section 7, Subsection 3, Paragraph 4. In defensive positions with confirmed friendly support and favorable terrain, snipers may maintain static positions beyond standard 3-shot limitations, provided continuous reassessment of enemy counter-sniper threat. Legal permission to do what Romano had done. The manual cited combat analysis from winter 1944-45 operations. No names, no specific battles, just acknowledgement that sometimes staying put killed more enemies than moving. Romano never saw the revised manual. By March, he was reassigned to division headquarters as a sniper instructor. Not a reward, a practical decision. If he'd figured out something useful, better to have him teaching it than getting killed before war's end. He trained 43 snipers between March and May 1945. Taught them tree positions, sight lines, patience, cold weather survival. Told them about the logging road. Explained his thinking. Assess the tactical value. Calculate the risk. Make the decision. Don't be stupid, he told them. Static positions are suicide in offensive operations. But in defense, with proper support, sometimes the best position is one that doesn't move. You have to know which situation you're in. VE Day came May 8, 1945. Romano had survived. 87 kills in 3 days, hundreds more throughout the war. Bronze Star for valor, though the citation never mentioned the logging road. Just exceptional combat effectiveness in the Ardennes, December 1944. He rotated home in July, discharged in August, back to Brooklyn by September. Romano didn't talk about the war. Friends asked what he did in Europe. He said infantry. They pushed for details. He changed the subject. His mother wanted to contact the local newspaper, do a hero story. He refused. He got a job at LaGuardia Airport, aircraft mechanic. The work was simple. Maintain engines, replace parts, keep planes flying. He liked it. Quiet, methodical. Nobody shooting at him. He married in 1948. Teresa D'Angelo from the neighborhood worked as a secretary for a law firm. They had 3 kids. Joseph, born 1949. Maria, 1952. Anthony, 1955. Romano told them nothing about the war until they were adults. Every year on December 20th, he called Patrick O'Brien. The sergeant had survived the war, moved back to Boston, worked construction like before. They'd talk for 20 minutes, mostly about families, jobs, regular life. Sometimes O'Brien would say, "You still crazy?" Romano would answer, "Every day." Neither mentioned the oak tree or the logging road. Didn't need to. Romano attended 99th Division reunions when he could. Saw other guys from the Ardennes. They'd shake hands, exchange small talk, drink beer. Late in the evening, someone might mention snipers. Romano would stay quiet, but other veterans would look at him, that knowing look. One reunion in 1973, a younger man approached, introduced himself as Lieutenant Michael Greco, Division Sniper School instructor, 1968-72. "You're Romano?" "Yeah. I taught your method, the static defense position. Saved my ass in Vietnam twice." Romano nodded. "You modify it at all?" "Added radio communication to friendly positions. Better extraction protocol if mortars come. But the core concept, your concept, works." "It's not my concept. Just common sense. Army didn't think so in 1944. Army thinks a lot of things. They talked for an hour. Greco wanted details. Exact sight lines, ammunition management, cold weather sustainment. Romano answered every question. If the method saved lives, he'd share everything he knew. You never got official credit, Greco said. Don't need credit. Just need Germans dead and Americans alive. That simple? That simple. Romano retired from LaGuardia in 1982, age 59. Pension wasn't great, but sufficient. He spent retirement working on cars in his garage, small repair jobs for neighbors, teaching his grandchildren how to shoot .22 rifles at a range upstate. He refused all interview requests. A military historian tracked him down in 1989, wanted to write about Ardennes snipers. Romano declined. Nothing to tell. I did my job. We won. That's the story. The historian pushed. But your technique changed doctrine. That's historically significant. Lots of guys changed doctrine. Most of them died doing it. I got lucky. Not much of a story. 87 kills in 72 hours. That's exceptional by any standard. Romano thought about the logging road, the bodies in the snow, young German soldiers, 18, 19 years old, dead because he'd been patient and cold and willing to violate orders. They were the enemy, he said. I killed them. That's war. Nothing exceptional about it. The historian never published the story. Vincent Romano died February 3, 1997, age 74. Heart attack, quick, at home in Brooklyn. Teresa found him in his garage, sitting in a chair, gone. The funeral was family and neighborhood friends. A few old guys from the 99th Division made the trip. O'Brien came down from Boston, 76 years old, walking with a cane. They buried Romano with military honors. Flag on the coffin, 3-shot volley, taps. The obituary in the Brooklyn Eagle mentioned his service. World War II veteran, 99th Infantry Division, European theater. Survived the Battle of the Bulge. No mention of logging roads. No mention of oak trees. No mention of 87 men killed from one position. Just another veteran, remembered by family, buried with quiet dignity. At the reception after the funeral, O'Brien sat with Romano's adult children. Joseph asked, "What was my father like in the war?" O'Brien considered the question. He was the bravest man I ever met, and the calmest. When everything went to hell, he stayed focused, did what needed doing. He never talked about it. Most guys don't. The ones who saw the worst of it, they keep it inside. Maria asked, "Did he do anything important? We know he was there, but he never said what he actually did." O'Brien smiled. He saved a lot of lives. Maybe hundreds. Maybe more. Changed how the Army thought about certain tactics. But he never wanted recognition for it. Why not? Because he didn't do it for recognition. He did it because it needed doing. Anthony, the youngest, said, "That sounds like him." O'Brien looked at the three of them, Romano's children, good people who barely knew their father's war story. There's something you should understand. Your father violated orders to do what he thought was right. Risked court-martial, risked his life, because he saw a way to kill more Germans and save more Americans. The Army eventually agreed with him, changed their doctrine based on what he did. But he never bragged about it, never claimed credit. Just went back to civilian life, like it was nothing. What exactly did he do? Joseph asked. O'Brien told them. The oak tree, the logging road, 72 hours, 87 kills, the mortars, the reprimand, the quiet doctrinal change. When he finished, the children sat silent. Finally, Maria said, "We never knew." "He didn't want you to know. He wanted to be your father, not a war hero." Teresa, Romano's widow, had been listening from nearby. She approached, sat down. He had nightmares sometimes, especially in December. He'd wake up shaking, wouldn't talk about it. I asked once. He said, "I killed a lot of people. Some of them deserved it. Some were just kids following orders." I don't know how to feel about that. O'Brien nodded. That's the difference between soldiers and killers. Soldiers remember who they killed. The logging road still exists, paved now, part of a regional highway system in eastern Belgium. Tourists drive it without knowing. There's no monument, no historical marker, just road through forest. In 1994, a Belgian military historian researching Battle of the Bulge actions in that sector found references in German unit records. The 12th SS Panzer Division's war diary mentioned enemy sniper activity, December 1820, resulting in supply route modification, significant casualties to reconnaissance elements. The historian cross-referenced with American records, found oblique mentions in 99th Infantry Division, after-action reports. Sniper operations significantly degraded enemy logistics in Sector 7B. He tried to identify the sniper. Name redacted in available documents. He requested full records. Denied. Classified under personnel privacy regulations. The historian published his findings without the name. An unidentified American sniper operating near Rocherath, Belgium, December 18, 1944, achieved estimated 85 to 90 enemy casualties from static position, demonstrating successful adaptation of sniper doctrine to defensive scenarios. The paper was read by military historians and doctrine specialists, cited in several later works about sniper tactics. The technique, extended static position in defensive operations, became accepted practice in U.S. military sniper training. No mention of Private First Class Vincent Romano. No acknowledgement of the Brooklyn Kid who killed pigeons from rooftops and Germans from oak trees. Just the method, the results, the quiet evolution of how soldiers think about their work. That's how innovation happens in war, not from generals in headquarters analyzing maps, not from committees writing theoretical doctrines, from soldiers in the field who see problems, calculate solutions, and act despite consequences. Romano saw a supply route enabling enemy operations, calculated that shutting it down mattered more than following regulations, accepted the risk of court-martial and death, stayed in that tree for 3 days, killing everything that moved, until the road became unusable. The Army wanted to punish him for disobedience. The Army also wanted to use his method, so they did both. Reprimanded him, adopted his technique, took credit for the innovation, forgot his name. Real heroes don't seek recognition. They do what needs doing, accept the consequences, move on. Romano killed 87 Germans in 72 hours because someone had to, because that logging road was getting Americans killed, because he had the skill, the position, and the willingness to risk everything to make a difference. That's not heroism. That's professionalism. The unspoken contract every soldier makes, mission first, rules second, survival last. The oak tree is still there. 60 years of growth, but the same tree. 3 branches intersecting 40 feet up. Perfect position for watching a road 800 yards distant. Nobody remembers why that tree matters. Just another oak in Belgium forest, home to birds and squirrels. Not memorials, not history. just a tree where a Brooklyn mechanic's son spent 3 days doing the hardest things soldiers do, staying in place when everything says run, firing when everything says hide, trusting that killing enough enemies will save enough friends to make the risk worthwhile. That's how one sniper killed 87 Germans in 72 hours. Not through luck, not through superior equipment, through understanding that sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't the one that moves fastest. It's the one that refuses to move at all. If you found this story compelling, please like this video. Subscribe to stay connected with these untold histories. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share this to honor the forgotten innovators of World War II. Thank you for keeping these stories alive.